Behaviorism is firstly appears with Watson in 1912, then developed with Skinner in 1957. Behaviorism is an empirically rigorous science focused on observable and not unobservable internal mental processes. The behaviorists, such as Pavlov, and Skinner, developed their theories while carrying out a series of experiments in animals. They observed that rats or birds, for example, could be taught to perform various tasks by encouraging habit formation. Researchers rewarded the desirable behavior, which is called positive reinforcement. For behaviors, learning is based on conditioning and plus habit formation. Actually, behaviorism is discussed earlier in philosophy. For example, Aristotle, who, with his famous quotation, "Give me a child until he is 7, and I'll show you the man." So, Skinner also suggests that a child imitates the language of their parents or caretakers. So, successful attempts are rewarded because an adult who recognizes a word spoken by a child will praise the child and give it what they are asking for. Successful attempts are therefore reinforced while unsuccessful ones are forgotten. The environment is very important since learning is a result of environmental rather than genetic factors according to behaviorism. Also, the mind is seen as tabula rasa before learning. That is, children are born only with the general capacity for analogies and overgeneralization. Learning is described as a combination of association, analysis, analogy. Language is seen as any other behavior, so language can be learned as any other skill, like cooking, dancing, or singing. Skinner believed that verbal behaviors could be controlled by some external processes which were used to control the behavior of rats or pigeons. He claims that the methods can be extended to human behavior without any serious modifications. So, imagine a hungry pigeon which is in a box. When it picks a button by chance, it will receive food. After picking the button on several occasions, the pigeon will come to learn the connection between the button and food. It will receive the positive reinforcement every time it picks the button. Food is provided. The first sounds a child utters are shaped by reinforcement to grow into the full range of verbal sounds of adult language. Within the behaviorist approach, language is acquired by habit formation via positive or negative reinforcement. And now let's talk about the limitations of behaviorism. First things first, language is seen or is based on a set of structures or rules which could not be worked out simply by imitating individual utterances. That is, the mistakes made by children reveal that they are not simply imitating, but actively working out and applying rules. For example, a child who says drinked instead of drank is not copying an adult, but rather over applying or over generalizing of a rule. Second, the majority of children go throughout the same stages of language acquisition. There appears a definite sequence of steps. Also, children are often unable to repeat what an adult says. And last but not least, for children receiving much explicit grammatical correction. Last but not least, parents are more interested in politeness and truthfulness rather than grammatical and correct words produced by a child. Also, there is a very growing evidence on something that is beyond the environment, something that is internal and cognitive. That is, there is a evidence for a critical period of for language acquisition. Children who have not acquired language by the age of about 7 will never entirely catch up. The most famous example is that of Ginny. Ginny is an American girl discovered in 1970 at the age of 13. She had been severely neglected, brought up in isolation and deprived of normal human contact. Of course, she was disturbed and underdeveloped in many ways. So her carers tried to teach her to speak. Despite some success, mainly in learning vocabulary, she never became a fluent speaker, failing to acquire the grammatical competence of average 5 years old child.